So hi once again, guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Som with all of my Locs. If you're new to our channel, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on that link. If you're new, please take a moment to subscribe, and when you're done subscribing, hit the notification bell so that you're always aware every time we post. We post every Friday 2 p.m. West African time, so feel free to subscribe and join the tribe. We don't charge for subscribing. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back once again. We appreciate you so very much. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about product buildup, why you have product buildup, and what you can do to prevent it before it starts. The problem with product buildup is that the buildup leads to additional or excess weight, which you don't want, because depending on how long your locks are and obviously how many years you've had them, that also determines the length. The buildup could really put a lot of pressure or tension on your edges, on your hair follicles, which could then lead to thinning at the roots and hair loss. Okay, so it's not something you just want to ignore. So that's one thing. Another issue is that product buildup can lead to mold, okay, and smells. Now, the unfortunate thing about people who have smelly locks is that they do not realize that they have an odor. So everybody else can smell you except you. And there are various reasons for this. I think one of the most obvious being that, you know, if you've had the smell around you for a while, you tend to be used to it, right? Because it's on your body. And after some time, you just don't notice it anymore. If you're the kind of person, if you have the kind of personality where people don't find it very easy to talk to you or to approach you, or you're a certain age, then understandably, nobody might have told you that you have an odor. So I would like to encourage you, and I know this takes a lot of humility, but it's well worth doing, to really take some time to introspect. And if you have any suspicions that you might have an odor, it's worth asking people who you live with, people who you work with, if this is good. And please be prepared for them to tell you the truth. Make up your mind that, you know, when you get the answer to the questions you're asking, that you are not going to get butthurt, you know, get in your feelings about it. Because think about it, it's not easy to tell somebody else, an adult, a grown man or a grown woman, that they smell. And so if anybody is honest enough, if anybody is courageous enough to be honest with you and let you know, I want to encourage you to look at it as an act of love and genuine care. And as embarrassing as it might be, try not to let your feelings get ahead of you. Okay, so that's that. Some of the reasons I'm going to give may surprise you. Okay, one of the first things, which I know some of you are going to be like, duh, just because it's so very obvious, is you might have product buildup because you're just not washing your hair often enough. Okay, what I'm not going to do is to prescribe a certain frequency, or just because, you know, people have different lifestyles. Some people's lifestyles are way more active than others. Obviously, if you're somebody who you work out a lot, your job involves a lot of physical exertion, or where you live the temperatures are really high, then, you know, you would sweat a lot. Or if you're somebody who, like me, you know, you love wearing head coverings or you just have to wear head coverings for whatever reason, then obviously you're probably going to be sweating your scalp. All right. Another reason why you might be getting buildup is the products you use. I mean, if you think about the name, right, we call it product buildup. And I've talked about it in other videos. I made a video about the products that my daughter and I use for her hair. And one of the things I said, which I say to all my clients, is as a lock head, your lock hair is very different than somebody who has loose natural hair. I know a number of people have heard me say this before. Whatever goes in your locks tends to stay in your locks, and if you don't want that to be the case, then you have to be very intentional about the products that you use. Okay, two things you may have heard me say. If you have a product that cannot be sprayed out of a bottle, you have no business using that product as a lock head. None whatsoever. Okay, even if you buy something that doesn't come in a spray bottle, what I usually encourage people to do, for example, shampoos, right? Before you put the shampoo in your hair, don't put it straight. Mix it in a separate bottle, dilute it. Well, depending on the shampoo you are using, sometimes diluting 1 to 2 should be enough. If you're using something like our local African black soap, 1 to 10 might be a better ratio to use, because you want it as liquid and as watery, as dilute as possible, so that you don't have to do too much rinsing to get all the product out. Okay, and then again, in spite of the dilution, you also do want to be very thorough when you're rinsing your hair. Okay, so that's that for shampoo. If you're not yet locked from root to tip, and even for those of you or those of us who are already in a mature phase, honestly, if your hair isn't color treated, you really don't need conditioner. And I don't want to dwell on this because there have been so many battles, so many internet battles or wars fought on the issue. But maybe I shouldn't make that blanket statement. Okay, let me rephrase. If you live in an environment where the weather is humid for much of the year, or during the more humid seasons where there's rain, there's a lot of moisture in the air, during those seasons you honestly don't need conditioner. Your hair is conditioned by the moisture in the air. Now, for those of us who live in more arid conditions during the winter where you have the heater on, or those of us who work in environments where the air conditioning is on 8 hours of the work day, because that too can be very drying, then yes, feel free to, you know, what we use is a refresher. It's basically just water or something that is 99% water. So it can be water with a few drops of essential oil in it, or you could use aloe vera juice, or you could use rose water, but just something that is literally 99% water with just, you know, a little bit of humectant dissolved in it. But that's for that's for, you know, seasons or periods when the weather is really dry. Okay, if you live in a place where most of the year, you know, there's enough moisture in the air, you don't need conditioners in your hair. Okay, you're better off using a lightweight refresher that you can just spray in your locks. Having said that, if your hair is color treated, I'm not going to go into that today. That's a whole different story. Maintenance for color treated hair deserves its own video. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that. If you fall into that category though, then yes, you will need a conditioner, because just by doing that, particularly if bleach was involved, you've completely altered the chemical structure of your hair, of your locks. So the maintenance for that is a completely different thing. Okay, But for those of us who are not color treated in any way, your hair is not chemically altered in any way, you honestly do not need conditioners, particularly thick, heavy conditioners or creams or butters. Basically anything that cannot be sprayed out of a bottle. Nope. All right, because these things lead to, they not only lead to build up on their own, but they also attract lint, which also contributes to the accumulated weight, which also, I mean, some people are not bothered by it, but some people are extremely bothered by it. Okay, so now you have not just the products that you've used sitting in your hair, and because they're so heavy and they have so integrated with the structure of your lock, it's very difficult to wash out with just ordinary soap or shampoo and water. In addition, the buildup also, because it's really, a lot of them are really like sticky, so then they also attract lint, which also then gets integrated into your lock, which also then contributes to the buildup. Okay, another reason is that some of us have been locked for years and have never ever had a detox wash. If that is you, please go do a detox wash. Okay, I do have a video on that. I'm not sure whether it's still active. If it is, I'll post it somewhere up here. But just in case it's not, I'm just going to say, you know, very briefly, the secret to the detox wash: two things. One, use very, very warm water. I don't want to say hot water, because some of us might actually go and take boiling hot water and pour on our logs. But what I usually tell people is as hot as your skin can possibly bear. Okay, so you don't want it scalding hot where you are actually like hurting yourself, but you also want it hot enough that it can, you know, dissolve any oils, both like the natural oils, the sebum that your scalp produces, as well as any additional external oils that you may be using with in your lock care. Okay, so that's one. The second secret is, and this is a mistake a lot of people make because they do not understand the chemistry behind how the detoxifying ingredients work. So the two main ingredients you use for your detox are bicarbonate of soda, the regular soda that we use to cook in your baked goods, as well as white vinegar. Some people use apple cider vinegar, which, I mean, if you can find that, that's fine, but I find that your regular cheap rice vinegar or white vinegar works just as good. Okay, the key is to let them meet in your locks. The mistake a lot of people make, which I have made in the past, if I'm being honest, is to combine the soda and the vinegar in the sink and then dip the locks into that. Once you see that fizzing, the chemical reaction has happened and it is completely useless to you. Okay, you want the fizzing to happen on your locks. And so what I usually do, what I usually tell people is you fill up the sink or the tub or where, you know, whatever it is where you're going to be washing your hair, fill it up with really hot water, as warm as your skin can tolerate. Soak your locks in that. Sprinkle the baking. So by this time your locks are wet and, you know, sticky, and so the soda tends to cling a bit better to your locks. So you sprinkle the soda all over your locks, you know, saturate it with as much baking soda as your locks can hold on to, and then you pour the vinegar on top of your locks. You want the chemical reaction to happen on your locks, because that fizzing is what cleans, is what gets your locks clean. So you want the chemical reaction to happen on your locks, not before you get your locks into the solution, if that makes sense. Sometimes you may find that once isn't enough. You may need to do it twice or thrice to really get your locks clean. And then when you're done with that, you can then follow with your regular shampoo Again, hot water to get all of that out. All right. The fourth thing, which I think would apply to probably those who have had their locks for, let me say, 5, 7, 10 years and over, is lint. By the dictionary definition, is tiny pieces of cloth and fabric that we usually have in our bedding, in our clothes, especially for those who live in places where the weather is colder, during sweater weather. A lot of the fabrics that people wear to keep themselves warm, unfortunately, usually tend to come off and get trapped in our locks. So that's one thing. And so if you're somebody who has not, up until now, you've not been taking the time to protect your hair, that might be something you want to incorporate into your regimen. So during the colder months, when you need to wear your sweaters and your jackets and your coats and all of that, basically anything that has lint on it, you may want to do like me. Okay, keep your locks up and protected and out of your clothing, and then when you're going to bed, take time to put on a satin bonnet, or if you're not somebody who likes to be stuck by bonnets, or you just don't like the look, then a satin pillowcase might be an option for you. And I know that these days they even make like satin lined hoodies and satin lined jackets. I've seen oh, I'm trying to remember the name of this vendor. If I find her name, I'll link it on the screen somewhere here. They make even car, like the backrest in your car, they make satin protectors, so that you can actually leave those on your headrest in your car. You know, they make satin lined beanies, satin lined hoodies. It's like a whole, check them out. They're really good products. I think they're on Instagram. I don't think they have a YouTube account, but I know for a fact that they're on Instagram. So I'll link the name of the vendor somewhere here. I am not in any way affiliated with them. It's just my fellow black woman, you know, doing great things, and I like to support my fellow women anytime I can, especially black female entrepreneurs. Okay, so go check them out and get yourself some. The other thing is, like I was saying, for those of us who have had our locks for a long period of time, something I've realized a lot of people tend to confuse with lint is the normal shedding of both, not just sebum, but as well as dead skin cells and hair bulbs that happens when the hair sheds from the scalp. So I'm sure that most of us know that we lose hair every day, right? Every day between, I don't know, an average of 100 hairs are lost. Most people who have loose natural hair would tend to brush or comb their hair, and then this gets shed into the comb. Okay, if you have locks, the hair isn't being shed into a comb. You're not combing your hair, right? So what happens is that, you know, the hair is shed and is shed into the lock, right? So some of us might see these as tiny white aggregates, and they drive some people nuts. I've heard somebody say that it makes her uncomfortable because it reminds her of knits. They are not knits. It's your hair bulbs, the bulbs of the shed hairs that have shed into your lock. Okay, sometimes those bulbs are shed not just by themselves, they are shed with like dead skin cells that get trapped into your lock as well. For those of us who feel very uncomfortable about the idea of having dead skin cells and hair bulbs trapped in your locks, it might make you feel a little bit more comfortable to realize that both your hair as well as the dead skin cells are made from pretty much the same substance, keratin. Okay, so yes, visually speaking, it might not look very appealing, but they're pretty much made of the same substance. It's not dirt, okay? It's just your own body. It's a wonderful, beautiful body. It's just doing what our bodies were created to do. All right? So a lot of people see these things and they think it's lint. It's not lint. Lint, technically speaking, doesn't come from your body. Okay, it comes from clothing, from fabric, and that kind of thing. Generally speaking, if the stuff that is in your locks is your own natural body oils or external oils that you're using to care for your hair, the hot water should take care of that. What the detox will not take care of, right? So is lint, okay, the hair bulbs, and the dead skin cells. Okay, so one very good way to figure out if what you're seeing in your hair is lint or dead skin cells and hair bulbs from shed hair, as different from product buildup and natural body oils or the oils that we use to take care of our hair. One good way to differentiate between the two is to do a detox with hot water. Because if you use really hot water and the combination of vinegar and soda, if there are any oils or if the buildup is from products, from external products that you put in your hair, they will go away. That's what changes the color of the water. Okay, anything else that is left there is probably lint from your bedding or your clothes, or your own dead skin cells and hair bulbs. And as of today, I'm not aware that there's anything you can do about that apart from either coloring, dyeing your hair, or what I know some people do is to spot treats. I know I've heard of people using mascara to spot treats. Hair bulbs, those tiny little white hair bulbs. And one good way to know, another point, or one good way to know if what you're seeing is from shed hair, is that you would notice if it's shed hair, because hair tends to shed around about the same time. Not every time, but generally, if your hair is going to shed across all over your scalp, particularly the kind of hair shedding that occurs with post-pregnancy and that sort of thing, you'd usually see the color change, or whatever that thing is. They all tend to be relatively along the same level, right? And so when you hear things like, oh, a hair tells a story, it really does. You could literally look at somebody's hair and tell that they've been through stuff in the recent past, just by looking at their hair. So I would say if it drives you nuts, then feel free to color, but also bear in mind that dyeing your hair also comes with its own issues. So it's not something that you want to go into lightly, especially if you have locks. Some people elect to just spot treats, so they would literally go in with a mascara wand. But then if you do that, you should also realize that whenever you wash, you're going to lose the color because it's not permanent. Yeah, so those are all the things. If I've forgotten anything, please feel free to mention it in the comments below so that we can all learn together. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you still haven't liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any further questions, please drop them in the comment section, and I'm happy to answer or to address any questions you have. And if you're yet to subscribe, please go ahead and subscribe, and then hit the notification bell, and join us next Friday for yet another video. Bye, and stay blessed.